Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. In a service seen here on Catholic TV, Pope Francis led vespers for the September 1st Day of Prayer for the Cure of Creation in St. Peter's Basilica. Last year, Pope Francis asked Catholics to begin marking the Day of Prayer, which is an annual event already observed by the Orthodox churches. In a sign of growing Christian concern for ecology, Orthodox clergy from Italy, as well as Anglican and Lutheran leaders, joined the Pope for vespers. Capuchin Father Raniero Cantalamessa, preacher of the papal household, gave the homily during the prayer service. Father Cantalamessa said that the clearest sign of what God wants from human beings is seen in the status he chose for his son when he sent him into the world. Jesus was not rich and powerful, but poor, weak, and defenseless. Earlier in the day, in his message for the day, Pope Francis proposed adding the care and protection of creation to the traditional list of corporal and spiritual works of mercy. As a spiritual work of mercy, the Pope said care for creation requires a grateful contemplation of God's world, while as a corporal work, it calls for simple daily gestures which break with the logic of violence, exploitation, and selfishness. The message, entitled Show Mercy to Our Common Home, reflects on the Day of Prayer as an occasion for Christians to reaffirm their personal vocation to be stewards of creation and to thank God for the wonderful handiwork which he has entrusted to our care. More news now from the Vatican. In his catechesis at his general audience this past week, Pope Francis related a story in the Gospel to the treatment of women today. Rome Reports has more from St. Peter's Square.
During the audience, the Pope reflected on the Gospel passage of the woman who suffered from hemorrhages and was wrongly rejected by society. She only wanted to touch Jesus' cloak to be healed. He commented on her incredible faith and courage to do so, which saved her in the end.
Quanta fede, eh? Quanta fede aveva questa donna. Il desiderio di essere salvata da Gesù è tale da farla andare oltre le prescrizioni stabilite dalla legge di Mosè. Questa povera donna, infatti, da molti anni non è semplicemente malata, ma è ritenuta impura perché affetta da emorragie.
The Pope warned of the prejudice and discrimination she experienced, which continues against women in the world today, even in Christian communities. Instead of continuing this pattern of rejection, Jesus invited the woman to himself, confirming her dignity as a person and a child of God. The Pope said this is how people should also act.
Il Signore ci dice coraggio, vieni. Per me tu non sei uno scartato, una scartata. Coraggio, figlia, tu sei un figlio, una figlia. E questo è il momento della grazia, è il momento del perdono, è il momento della inclusione nella vita di Gesù, nella vita della Chiesa, è il momento della misericordia.
Looking now at news from Italy, Pope Francis will join dozens of religious leaders and hundreds of the faithful in Assisi September 20th for a meeting marking the 30th anniversary of St. John Paul II's Assisi Interfaith Peace Gathering in 1986. Also in attendance at this three-day service, sponsored by the Rome-based community of Sant'Egidio, will be Orthodox Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew of Constantinople and Anglican Archbishop Justin Welby of Canterbury. The meeting, titled Thirst for Peace, Faiths and Cultures in Dialogue, also will feature victims of war who will share their experiences and thoughts on peace. The Pope and religious leaders are also expected to sign a common appeal for peace. And finally in the news, with the canonization of Mother Teresa on September 4th, many are reflecting on her life and work. Catholic News Service talked to two Americans who had worked with Mother, and they shared some of their experiences with the saint.
First time when I went to meet Mother, I had seen a man in distress in Calcutta, and you often saw people in difficult situations, but there was a man on a median strip basically in rags and obviously in a lot of distress. And so when I talked to Mother about it, I said, Mother, I saw this gentleman on distress, you know, and felt a little helpless not knowing what to do, the first thing she did was say, "Where did you see him? What time?" And she said, "Here's a number. Whenever you see somebody else again, call this number and I'll have our ambulance go to get them." And so she was just an activist from the very beginning. She listened to you, but she also had her own agenda of things that needed to get done. So it wasn't just social calls. It usually was getting something done and reaching out to people.
I think there were a couple of instances when I really felt the power, I think, of Mother's spirituality. One was meeting her once and just having her touch me, you know, in a friendly way, and felt an incredible warmth through her fingertips, and it was remarkable for me, something I'll never forget. Secondly, I was in the chapel one time praying also, and it was 100+ degrees, no electricity, middle of the afternoon, you know, before certainly the sunset, and I was sweating profusely, and suddenly a cool wind came to me and through me and started to cool me down. And as I looked up, you know, again, remarking that this cool wind had come, Mother Teresa had in fact entered the room and had sat down and kneeled down and had begun praying with us.
And that is all the information we have for you this time. Kevin Nelson, don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV Network.